Hello world, Patricia O'Connor and Frida, Reba Darcy. Here you go, babe. Reba Darcy here. Today we're going to do ketchup. What is ketchup? Well, ketchup is not in this instance something that is a condiment. Ketchup is what I am doing currently. Last week I planted 10 little seeds in here, and now we have 10 little Japanese black pines popping up. So 10 out of 10. We'll call that good. We'll call that good for now, Frida. Yeah, that's us. We're good for now. Now we're going to go out on the balcony because we have other things that we have started out here. And we're going to see how they are doing and catch up on, show your work. We did a little bit of carving and a little bit of styling to this dawn redwood, and this is what it looks like after the fact. We have new shoots. The top seems to be doing okay. It's accepting water. The foliage, a lot of which seems to be trying to work its way back around so that it can do some sort of photosynthesis. So it has already well into its turnaround. The pool is hopping. The kids are. Weather-wise, they were calling. This is my Saturday. Well, it's your Saturday too. Wherever you are in the United States today, it's Saturday. They were calling for this weekend to be a bit of a scorcher, and we're hanging out at like 70 degrees. So I don't particularly feel scorched, but that's the way it is here. A lot of times, I was saying this on a video just a little while back. A lot of times when I actually break down and watch my so-called local weather report, 70-80% of that has nothing to do with me. When they back up and show the area and then start dropping all those temperatures overlaid over the map, we're always cooler than everybody else that they're saying is going to be in for it. Right now they were predicting like 90s, and it might be that. They might be going through that, not 10, 12 miles from here. But here in Alameda, it's pretty comfortable. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty comfortable. This is our oak. I did a little bit of prune back on. I rotated it around, so now we're looking at the back of the oak. This is going to be something that I keep. This is going to be our new lowest branch. As on this side, that also. These guys, they are probably, I don't know. I might pick out one of them for to go back. For a back limb, for a back branch. But I don't know. Usually I'm take out this stuff, but this is going to actually be my new bottom of the tree, and then I'll let that guy run too. I want to bring more out here and stop this elongation, and I don't mind this stuff getting fatter, and I didn't mind this stuff getting fatter, so I'll let a lot of these smaller shoots run, because it will fatten. This tree has got a little, we gained a little girth over all those little sprouts and stuff. That helps, but that's all of it helps actually. All right, now quick look here at the table. All of our Japanese black pines are looking happy, green, healthy. The ones that are in training pots are got watered early today. They're still good to go. They don't really look like they're moving a lot of. It's getting warm. I mean, it'll get up to maybe 75 up here, but I don't think so. I would expect these guys to pretty much stay watered for the rest of the day. Maybe tomorrow we'll look at them and they'll be ready again. Which brings us to these guys. These are 19 Japanese black pines. Those back there in the pot, those two little back there being 20 and 21 of the little seedlings that we have outside. The 10 that you just saw will be moving out here to join these guys shortly. So that's what's going on our firm seed Japanese black pines. Our count again on that is 21 here, 10 in the kitchen that are about ready to come out here. The stuff that we've been potting up and looking and talking about lately and did our little bit of decandling on, it's all busting out and doing all kind of really cool stuff, kind of the way we like it to do. I'm really happy with all these little seedlings. Our ponderosas, I repotted this guy, They are both doing well. This has got some needle damage from where it is spread out, and I keep bumping it into things. I don't think it's condition. I think that's my clumsiness, but we'll see. I'll keep my eye on it. But I think both trees are pretty much really healthy and showing signs of good thing. Look at that guy. It's just flushed out with buds. We did a little needle. We did we cut the candle there, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 6 to 8 buds right there. I'll have to go through it sometime not too far off and do a little bud selection. That's pretty encouraging. Now, Simply P, we decandled and thinned the needles back, and it's pushing out all this new growth. It still has this very much plucked chicken appearance to it, but it is happy. It appears to be happy. It's pushing out new stuff. It doesn't. It didn't wait. It didn't wait a minute to just jump right in. Probably gonna go get the water and go get my little water mister or that. No, I'll probably go get that red watering can, the Hoss, and water that guy in a little while. That is, let's see, what else? Is there anything else we have to, yeah, the cypress tree. Those are, let's see, where are they? Those are cypress balls, which are seed pods, are like the same thing as the pine cone, except for a cypress tree. And the tree produced 2 this year. And as far as I know, those are our first 2 of that guys. Also, a couple of days ago, I drug out my bamboo and staked these guys up in case I want to. Right now, I just kind of put the stakes in amongst them and kind of manipulated their direction a little bit just by putting them in the ground in between some of the branches. If I want to, I could restrict that further by tying them off 2 or 3 places with a piece of jute line, garden line, or maybe just possibly zip ties. You know, anything would do. But I could tie that here and restrict it more, but right now it's doing what I want it to do, and that I've got this piece laced in between the branches that won't let it go too far this way or this way. So it stays happy and in a good place. So I trim that back. It'll be a good time for me to rotate this guy today. It's been that's the forward position, I think, because it's bowed to me in that position. But also, whatever side faces out gets cooked more on the outside. That's warm, and I keep that side watered. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't. That doesn't mean that it doesn't stay warm. Our lunch just popped off because it's that time of the afternoon. Here you go, Frida. Have a little paella. Those are wildflowers I planted in this wisteria vase. This is just wisteria. I don't even consider it a pre-bonsai. I just something I stuck in this vase so that it wouldn't die. Our big Japanese black pine is not going to get decandled this year. I thinned back the needles some. I need to thin back some more. This side is growing weak. I don't want it to cast this side off. I'm going to try to encourage it to not do that. So I make sure it gets plenty of good light, and then I try to thin some more stuff on the top, so maybe it'll allocate more of its energy down there where those yellow needles are, and we can turn that around a little. I'm anticipating the arrival of another ponderosa. It will ship out from about in the middle top of the country. I think Monday is what I heard, and I'm not sure how long it'll take it. Probably a week or so to arrive after that. When I get it, it will likely go either there or there after it gets a little bit of time, like maybe on that table, to recuperate for a couple of days, and then we move it. And then we move it out to the sun. We see how well it's taken water, or whether or not the roots have been wet the whole time for a week. Once that happens, we'll move it either there or there. These are both two really good spots. I plan on starting right away with some of the stuff. Like, well, for instance, we're not going to do anything drastic or tiring, but as soon as I get the tree, I won't know whether or not it's had its systemic treatment or not. I won't know how that was handled in its past, and I won't really know if it has any immunity to the things that it might be subject to here. So first couple of days that I have that tree, I will be giving it a systemic treatment. And this is our 17 year from seed. I did the needle reduction, and I did the thinning of the needles all in one fell swoop, and it looks like a plucked chicken. I always worry about the way they look after we do this, but this is the way they're supposed to look after you do that, and that's what's going on there. It'll be fine. So anyway, when we get that next ponderosa, we'll be giving it a systemic treatment. Also, at some point, I'll repot and change the angle of that. I don't think it's time necessarily for a repot, but I do really want to change the angle of that tree and then do a styling on it. We won't be doing that week one. We will be doing our welcome to California. You just hang out here, let me get you a cocktail, prop your dogs up, and relax and try to get used to the climate and the air and the accent and all that stuff. And in the meantime, when it gets acclimated, I can start doing some of the stuff that I intend to do. I can get started on some of it early. For instance, on the angle. What I would do about the angle is repot the tree. I would rather have it in a round pot, I think, than a rectangle pot. Repot the tree, raise the base of the tree up 4 inches so that whenever I then lean the tree forward quite a bit, the base of it won't be laying on the ground, because the amount of angle I want to change on this tree right now, if it were staying at that same soil level, the Nabari was at that same soil level, it would be, the base of it would be laying on the ground, and I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is raise it up 4 inches, either just by mounding the soil up, or maybe getting a pot that is a couple of inches shallower and then still raising the mound up, because like I said, 4 inches is a lot, and I think that's what I'm going to want on that guy. And then once I tilt it forward, all of the movement in the branches that I want to make, they're already wired and ready to, and in some position, but they're not, I don't believe the tree as sold is styled. It's still a pre-bonsai. This is just kind of like the grower showing you what can be done with these branches and how they're already wired and ready to go. Blah blah. So my idea is that I will probably take the pot and nail some 2x4s around it so that I can then block it up easier to give me an idea of what it will look like when it's in its repotted position. And what that will do is allow me to then take those wired branches, let's say we've had the tree 2 weeks, it's 3 weeks or maybe a month, it's begun to settle in a little bit. We've already given it its little treatment for bugs, and now we're also going to introduce it to BioGold. So now it's getting fed. It's going, this is not so bad. I'm not getting rained on, and the food's good. So a couple of weeks of that, and then by that time by that time I would like put a lap around the pot of 2x4s. That way, when I lift one side of it up and get the angle like I want it to, no matter how up or sideways or whatever it is, I can slide another standing up block of 2x4 and then put a screw in it or two, go to the other side and do the same thing. Then the pot's standing there in the position that I will ultimately repot it in. The good to that is then I can position the limbs so that they will be where I want them to be when the tree is planted in that position, and they can take on that shape. They can go ahead and start training themselves into that. The branches and the back budding that wants to occur will be facing the right way. When they come out, they'll be looking for the light in the right way, yada yada yada. The bad side to that is it's kind of like when you tilt a pot one way to try to get it to drain better, you may be collecting water in a straight line down there like where my wrist is, because there's no drainage holes below that. So you can create a cavity where water stays in a pot if you leave it constantly at that angle. So I'm going to figure that part out. Ways around that. While you have the pot tilted, drill tiny little holes along that bottom edge. As far as pots go, I think it's unglazed Chinese, which is to say it's probably a fairly cheap unglazed pot, but it's certainly not one that I would purposely bust or mess up. And my preferences would not to be to drill little holes in the bottom, but at the same time, if that means that I could wire it and that I could style it and that I could get on with that portion of the program without having to repot it, then I would do that. Or maybe I would find out that no, if you're not planning on doing a root reduction, just let the tree dry out for when it needs watering again, and then quickly up pot it, which is to say not cut back the roots, but just put some new substrate in there and take the lump and set it like you want to set it and set the angle and tie it back down. We haven't cut back the roots, or if we haven't messed with the ball that much, it should be none the wiser. I don't really buy that. There are always some the wiser, but I did that with another. Y'all saw me do that with another. Ponderosa last summer. I needed to repot one of them, and then a second one that came up that I got to up pot it. So that worked. Those were both things that I did without reducing the roots or anything, and I think the tree was fine with it. It never really seemed to have a time where there was a recovery. I didn't get a feeling that there was a recovery process to that. Just like whatever it was doing at that moment, it just continued to do without a beat being skipped. And I've done that before with perennials. Sometimes when you repot a perennial, they go into shock and you lose a week. Sometimes if you're gentle, they don't know that they were repotted, and the next day they're just still getting watered and treated and fed the same way. So I know I feel like that's possible, and that's kind of what I try to do. So that's a little bit different than, I think, in my mind, that's a little bit different than potting or repotting at the wrong time of the season. I've also been told by some of the other locals around here that we're kind of blessed in a lot of ways. We can cheat on that in ways that other people can't, because our temperatures are so temperate to begin with. Anyway, that's just kind of general conversation at that point. We've done some nice work to the Dawn Redwood. It's doing nicely. I've staked up my cypress trees, and they're behaving well. They're looking good. The little cypress balls are going to be interesting. I hadn't really thought about growing any cypress from seeds, but I will Google. I haven't yet. I will Google just what I'm supposed to do to get those cypress balls ready to be viable seeds, and I'll do that, and we'll start some. I'll I think that'll make me a grandmother uh, if I start seeds from those cypress balls. So that's pretty much got us. It's all going pretty good. It's all a beautiful Saturday to be had here on the balcony, and we are enjoying this weather. The scorcher that they're promising is still pretty much a well-behaved day. Now, let's say it were 90. What would I be doing? I'd be standing by and overwatering probably a little bit. And by overwatering, I mean I would be watering more than they actually need water, and I would be doing that as an attempt to keep the pots cool. One day of that will not make your trees sick. Also, if it's that hot, it'll probably evaporate off a little quicker anyway. Another thing, once I'd watered, like today it's going to be a scorcher. We know it's going to get up to 90 degrees. I get up that morning, I walk out and I look, and they're ready to be watered, but the temperatures are still cool. Maybe I'll wait a little bit longer, not until it gets a bazillion degrees, but I'll wait a little bit longer, then water, and before the temperatures shoot all the way up. So now it's maybe 10 or 11 and we're on our way to those temperatures climbing, but I just watered, and that's going to represent the maximum amount of watering for a proper watering without overwatering. And then that's going to give you the coolest. We've just cooled our pot, the temperature of our pots down, and we ball ourselves the most time. Come back and check on them a couple of, later. I'm just saying a couple of hours later, but as close as I am, I'd be walking out here every 15 minutes just because I'd want to know. And at some point, whenever I see the top of the substrate starting to dry out, and it will do that really quickly on a super hot day, that's where I would maybe go with, I'm old school. I probably still have a few dozen or maybe a half a dozen black t-shirts. So I would grab one of those, black, because black absorbs heat. It'll take, let it soak up the heat instead of the top of your surface. Dunk it in some water, lay that across the top of the pot. And then the idea is to block the direct sun, and also try to use that wet t-shirt to cool the pot down somewhat. In other forms of growing, I think the guys with grapes and stuff like that, they chill. They use chillers. The cannabis people also do this too, to escape excessive heat. Whatever, you just can't just sit there with a garden hose and hose it down. They'll cool the roots, and the term chillers comes up. So I would be around. I would hopefully be around to take advantage of that and make sure that they're not suffering anything in that way. And then the other side is my job is about 10 minutes from here by car. And if I get caught off guard and I notice at work that it's starting to get close to 90s, I should probably hot-foot it home for lunch and do those emergency practices. So that's pretty much what we have going for us living in the Bay. We do get a 90-degree day about once every couple of years, but not too often. Even when they prescribe them here for the Bay Area, that's more closer. That's not really along the water, by the water's edge. We do get that breeze. We do tend to get that break, but it's not guaranteed. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope wherever you are, you're having an awesome Saturday. Frida and I are, and we'll probably drag in a couple of pine trees tonight and do a little something to them, or at least see how they're doing. And thank you so much for watching.